So for my lesson, I videotaped my buddy Ben. We talked about any sort of prior injuries he had beforehand, but he's a pretty healthy kid, so he was fine with all the movements in the swing. He played football and ran track for most of his life, so golf swing is obviously pretty foreign to him. So we had to get him in a couple different positions that he's never actually been in before. So it was a pretty interesting and fun time. All right, so immediately what we saw with his first couple swings was his ball flight tendencies were extremely thin. Obviously, they'd come out extremely low, and they would just be a slice right to the right. If we want to start communicating some of his ball flight laws, nothing about his body was really lined up too well. His centerness to any sort of plane, his feet, his club wasn't really all there. His face coming through the impact zone with the ball was almost wide open. His path was extremely outside, and his angle of attack was extremely steep, and his speed would fluctuate sort of randomly with each different swing he had because he'd always have different movements going. So what we tried to do is we tried to fix up his stance a little bit. We tried to make sure that everything was a little bit more square, and we tried to bring it back on the correct path because we were thinking that with the correct path, it'd be a little easier to get the face into the right spot in the swing. And these are some of the results from later in the first lesson into the second lesson. We really worked on with Ben was getting everything that he needed to be aligned, actually aligned to the target. We got the alignment sticks out, we got his feet, we got his hips, we got his shoulders, we got everything aligned with the club face into where we wanted the ball to start out. Although in the swing, as you could tell, his left arm bends tremendously on the backswing, and there's still obviously some flaws. The results they're pretty awesome. He made pretty good contact on both of those shots. The balls actually got in the air, and they both actually started at the target where we wanted to. It did go a little bit right with an open club face coming through a little bit, but it was a very very large improvement from where we started at.
Back up a little. Come here. Yeah. See why it's going left? Yeah. Right? Because you're swinging on this plane. You're swinging on this plane, which would be straight, but your club piece is open, and that's why it's going to the right. Yeah.
So you can't hear it too well in that video, but what we were talking about was where he was actually aiming in accordance to where he thought he was aiming. And I was showing him that his stance was open to his target, and his face was coming across that path with an open face. And I was trying to show him why his ball was ending up right instead of going straight to the target.
You're going to set up to it. All right. The one thing, ready? Move those hands down a little bit. Get your hands relaxed. All right. Okay. Remember, back on the plane, keep that arm straight and smother it with your chest. Feel like you're coming through with your chest. Ready? Nice and slow, 10
All right, so in that clip, Ben was asking me, why isn't my ball going up in the air? And I was trying to explain to him that it's a game of opposites. So I was telling him that you wanna hit down on it to make the ball go up in the air. So I was trying to get him to sort of feel like his chest is smothering the ball and staying on top of it, and make sure his and his body doesn't come up so he doesn't keep topping the ball. Because I knew he wanted to see that ball get up in the air.
All right. The only thing is that you picked up a little bit.
Yeah. I
So
remember to stay down.
So what we're gonna do here is let Let's set up 2, Dan. Just relax his hands. Drop the hands a little bit. Just like that. Now move your right hand a little bit more on top.
Of the left. Like this?
More like, if you see my hands here,
More over it.
more over it.
Okay.
Just like that. Money. Now bring it back. When you're bringing it back, you gotta take it back right on that plane. Feel it falling right on that plane with this arm being straight. Don't be afraid to move your hips.
Like that.
Right like that.
Okay. Not bad.
You hit that pretty good.
Yeah. Okay, good.
That felt real good.
All right, so in that clip, I was starting to look at Ben's hands, and I noticed that his right hand was extremely underneath the club. So I got his hand into a better position by moving a little bit on top, a little bit more on top of the club, a little bit more comfortable grip, and I sort of showed him that how a grip can affect how you bring the club back and how you bring it back on the right plane. Again, in the swing, he did come a little across himself, but he made very good contact, and it was a little bit of a fade, but he was very excited to see the ball go up in the air.
Try to have the club go back first.
Okay.
Not like tremendously, but have the club go back first.
All right, so in a lot of Ben's swings, he had trouble staying connected right on the takeaway. He would bring his hands back first and sort of whip the club behind him. That would cause for a lot of his shots to be real wristy and flippy, and he'd either get it up in the air barely or he'd just top it completely. So what I was trying to get him to feel is have the club come back with the hands all together at once, sort of have him feeling that everything's going to come back down together as a unit. Alright, so just excerpts from lesson 1 and lesson 2. Lesson 1 was an eye opener for me. I've never actually given a lesson before, and it's very different, telling myself what I'm doing wrong in the range and then trying to tell someone who's never swung a golf club before. So that was pretty different. It was pretty interesting trying to figure out a way for me to sort of teach myself how to teach someone that's never actually swung a golf club before. Luckily, Ben was a really quick learner, so when we started going into lesson 2, he remembered a lot of stuff. He remembered a lot of little things that I was telling him. Everything, most of the stuff he got pretty right on. The little things were off, and it was a little easier to go back and tell him, just remember I told you to leave your hands a little lower, and he'd remember it, and then it's sort of muscle memory for him pretty quickly, which is pretty awesome. A lot of the things he told me, he really liked working with someone his age. He said it was pretty fun working with me. What I did well, I thought I was able to really get the point across well and sort of connect to him, obviously because he's my age. Definitely be able to describe ball flight laws and sort of what your club's doing at a very basic level is definitely something I need to work on. But what I learned is it's not very easy to give a lesson. It is a lot of fun when you see your golfer do well, but you sort of feel like, oh man, like I really need to make sure like he does well. So it was pretty interesting for me to figure out a way to make sure he does well, because I feel like everything's riding on me. But it was a very fun experience.